everybody. Welcome to the Silver Lyming. If you're new here, this is a podcast that I've put together to help educate the public about things like Lyme, tick-borne illnesses, ticks, their environment, things to pay attention to, as well as to spread hope, because this can be a very dark space. And I really want people to understand that not everything about this is bad, and it is possible to get better. You can regain function of life. And I think ultimately that's really what I want people to grasp onto in this concept here is you can get better. I know it's really hard. I went through the battle myself. I was undiagnosed for at least 7 years before I finally got accurate medical diagnosis. And it took me thousands of dollars, unfortunately, to fix myself, as well as a lot of time, effort, and energy. And again, putting this show together is something that's really important to me because when I was really sick, I found stories like this were really what I could hold on to, and they were my tackling fuel. I've referred to that in the past. I think about good old Adam Sandler and the Water Boy and his tackling fuel, but this is what I used to really propel myself forward, were thoughts that I was healing and that I was getting better. And that's really what I want people to take away as well. Instead of saying that you're sick or you're unwell, please try to rephrase that and give yourself a better point of reference in saying that you're healing. This is a very important concept to change in your mind, because I find when we are able to see, again, more of the positive side of this, even just in any equation, you're going to give yourself that much better of a chance at getting to your outcome that you prefer to have versus something that we're afraid of. When we have fear, that can really block things, that can really cause us to just spin our wheels and not necessarily go anywhere. When we've got hope, and when we can see that, yes, I'm healing and more on the positive side of the spectrum, that's generally where your energy is going to go to. And that's just something that is very important. My guest today is somebody that I've known on Facebook for a bit and had a really good chance to connect more personally with her in our Lyme fly-in event, which was absolutely amazing. I can't speak enough to that. And the group that put that together, it was just a fantastic opportunity for us to present to our local elected officials, to the Senate, to the House of Representatives, just to let them know what's going on in the Lyme space, because it's really something that's highly misunderstood, misdiagnosed, underdiagnosed, and underfunded. And really, people are left to their own devices to try to figure out what's going on in their own body, how to get better, and how to pay for it. And that's a huge problem. We all deserve good quality of life. We all deserve our health. And this area is something that is really problematic for people. And many times I wonder, in reality, how many people are actually sick with this that don't know it, because the standard diagnostic testing for it is absolutely deplorable. It's a standard 2-tier testing that has, at best, a 40%, 50% accuracy rate. And for, I don't know, for what it's worth to me, I don't want any kind of diagnostic test that's going to have that much room for error. That's just something that's criminal in my mind, and we really need to do better. It is possible to do better, but that testing usually costs more money. And so therefore, we're in this perpetual quandary of who's going to pay for it, how is that getting covered? And okay, so we'll just stick to what we've got on hand, which is terrible and doing one of the greatest crimes against humanity, in my opinion, in my mind. And so I really wish that people would take the time to reach out to the local elected officials in your area. If you're hearing this, please let them know that we absolutely must do better. We need better testing. We need greater funding. And this has to change now, because I can tell you, you don't want to wait till you get it to get this. This is something that needs to change now. 400 to 600,000 people a year are infected in our country alone. And I do still think that's a huge underestimation. And people deserve to know. I think in yearly physicals, they should be giving people testing. But again, we have to get testing that's actually accurate to do that, to help to prevent problems for people. It is more of a time-sensitive sickness, so the longer you go with it, the further into your organ system and your body that it moves, and then it just becomes all the harder to eradicate. So that's why it's very important, if you feel that you've come into contact with a tick, to please get to your doctor if you're noticing symptoms, things going wrong in your body, and let them know that you have been in contact with a tick and you would really prefer to get treatment so that you can hopefully stave off something that can turn to a chronic problem. And once it becomes chronic, it's just, again, a very hard thing to get through. So my guest today is, again, somebody that I met in the Lyme fly-in event, Michele, and on Facebook. She is the she founded, I think you founded it, correct?
Yes.
The Central Mass Lyme Foundation. And I was thinking actually had Lyme, but in actuality, it was someone in her family, one of her family members. And I will let her speak to that a little bit more and share her story because, again, we were talking before we got started just how important it is. It takes a village to really get through this, to educate people, to reach out to people. And I know in Massachusetts, another hotbed for this problem, and that there's a lot of people that are contracting Lyme up there as well because you have a lot of beautiful area outside there. People love to spend time outdoors, of course, but one of the dangers of it is contracting Lyme and tick-borne illness. So
Yes.
thank you
Yeah.
for joining me today, Michele Miller. I really appreciate you and all your efforts and everything that you do to help our community to thrive, to learn, to have hope, to know that there's a safe landing place for them, to know that you're there for them if they need assistance and contact and understanding more about this illness. If you don't mind, if you could just please share a little bit more with us about who you are and how you became involved with Lyme and tick-borne illness, that would be fantastic.
Okay, Anne. Well, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I appreciate you too and all you do for the Lyme community. And fortunately, I've met so many wonderful people through the loss of my mother, who was diagnosed 2011. She went to a neurologist and she had some odd symptoms, and the neurologist diagnosed her with ALS, which is Lou Gehrig's disease. And basically, you have 2 to 3 years to live, and there's really nothing that they could do. My mother did not believe that diagnosis, and they didn't really do any type of tests. It was just based on symptoms, and this is what you have. So my mother sought out a holistic physician that we didn't know at the time was a Lyme literate physician. And he told my mother and I at that 3 hour appointment that he would do a series of tests. One would be called the ELISA, and the other would be a test called IGeneX.
Okay.
Okay. And he told my mother and I that that ELISA test may come back negative, but the IGeneX test is pretty accurate. So 2 weeks later, we got called in his office, and the ELISA did show that it was negative, but he had already prepared us for that. But the IGeneX test, um, almost everything lit up like a Christmas tree. And it had shown that my mother had been sick with Lyme and probably 3 other tick-borne illnesses for many, many years. So he did start treatment with my mother, a series of antibiotics. But unfortunately, I believe now that it was too late for my mother to get treatment, and she was herxing, and she passed in 2013. She had left many journals, and I shared this with you earlier. They were found everywhere in the house, and they were written since my father, excuse me, had passed away. My father had renal failure, and my mother was a caretaker for him for 4.5 years. They were doing at-home dialysis.
Wow. Wow.
So, I mean, my mother, took care of him that way every night, hooking him up to a machine. Um, and I think his loss, that was a lot for my mother. She
Yeah.
really had no one to take care of anymore. And odd that some of those symptoms started shortly after my dad passed away, too. So, emotions and illness, right? The trauma. I was starting to put the pieces together in all of these notebooks that I found in her home. And I was struggling myself with losing her because I felt helpless. I was going to the doctor with her, doctor after doctor, not really getting many answers until we found that Lyme literate physician who tried to help her, but it was just too late. So I started grief counseling. And because the first Mother's Day, I was going to curl up on my couch, and my husband said, "No, we'd like to take you to brunch. You are a mother too." So I did it, but I remember that day it was very, very, very hard for me. Um, but reading her journals, Anne, I said to my husband, how many others are suffering like this in silence? I mean, we just had to find out who these people were, um, along with my husband, who was having swollen knees and panic attacks. And, you go back and you think, wow, God, why is this happening to me? Right? But I believe my mother saved my husband because shortly after my mother passed away, we got my husband tested for Lyme disease. And he was in a better place physically and much younger than my mother to start the antibiotic treatment. And we were learning so much, Anne, about the importance of past trauma, emotions, and um, how detrimental stress can be, right? So we were learning about meditation, affirmations. We were learning the importance of detoxification. And we wanted to really go out to the general public. So that's why we started the organization. We wanted to be that advocate for others in this area. And we were really the pioneers as far as organizing a Lyme conference for the general public. There are other organizations that have them for Lyme literate physicians, but we were specifically having these conferences for the general public so they could understand what this disease is, how to prevent yourselves from getting it, and alternative treatment. So our first conference was back in 2015, and we had over 400 people in that
Wow.
day who
Wow.
came. It was amazing. And every year thereafter until COVID, we were doing conferences every year for the general public. And then, COVID kind of changed that platform
Yes.
for a lot of people. But prior to COVID, we had opened up, my husband and I, after he started feeling better, we knew what helped him: a sauna, energy healing, lymphatic drainage, herbals. We were looking at alternatives because he was on antibiotics and for, I think, 3 years. And his gut was pretty beat up.
Yeah.
So we were looking at some herbals. He was on an herbal protocol for about 9 months. He did meditation. We did lymphatic massage. I trained with a good friend of mine to do the raindrop technique with
Yeah. I love that.
oils. My daughter was at college. We converted her room into a massage room. We were doing everything we could to get him in a better place. And I can say that he is 95% better. He still has his aches and pains, like we all do. But we just celebrated our 40th wedding anniversary, and I don't think I would still have him here if I accepted the ALS diagnosis.
Yeah. Yeah. That's making me want to cry. I'm just
Yeah,
thinking,
my mother saved my husband.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
believe that.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe that too. Very
Yeah.
much so. And for your husband, do you think his symptoms started relatively close to infection time, or do you think he,
Yes.
okay.
Yes. He was in the yard, Anne, and he thought he got bit by a tick, but he went to the doctor, and the doctor said it was a spider bite, not to worry about it. But he started with panic attacks. This is a man I've known since high school. He couldn't go to work. He'd drive to work. He'd get so nervous. I said, just come home. Just come home. So this is a man that never had panic attacks, never had issues with his knees. He was a runner. All of a sudden, his knees would blow up. So these were symptoms that he had that we knew were possible Lyme disease until we got the proper testing.
Yeah. Yep. And that's what I really want people to hear too is proper testing, right? Like I talked
Proper
about,
testing.
you've talked about it a couple times now. Like it is critical that you get proper testing. And
Yes.
you mentioned a specific company, Igenix, that's a really great one. A
Yes.
couple others that I am aware of too that are more sensitive, more specialized that
Right.
you can really go to as opposed to the standard two-tier test and the ELISA and the Western blot test. And
Right.
the unfortunate thing is that they generally cost money out of pocket. I've seen some people actually have coverage for it with insurance, but typically I would say 95% of the time you're left to pay for that out of your own pocket, which can be.
Right. And I hear a lot of people, we have a toll-free Lyme line that people can call in. And when I mention the testing, oh, Michelle, I don't know if I can afford this. I know when my husband was ill, we just opened up a credit card because we didn't know how this was going to affect our household. We had two kids in college, and I said, "Hun, you're worth it. You're worth it." I think a lot of people, Anne, don't think they're worth it.
Yeah,
It's sad. You have to value yourself and your health. And you have to be the best advocate for your health because no one else will.
amen to that. That's one of the biggest lessons I got out of this too.
Hmm. Right.
I went into debt myself, if you will, and I was really ashamed about that. And that sort of compounded my stress symptoms. And, I was just ashamed. And one of my coaches had said to me, God gave you a way to make it happen. God gave you a way to heal yourself, release that shame that you've got around that. Like stop telling yourself that story and tell yourself a different one. And that
Right.
was such a huge shift for me when I started to realize that God's giving me a lifeline to fix myself. And
Right.
without it, I wouldn't be where I am. But
Right.
it is
You
an
are worth
investment.
it.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. And I wonder, I think about this for a lot of people too, like where their emotional or spiritual welfare is when things start to happen to them. Are they having some subconscious thoughts about that in particular, like their self-worth, or are they deserving kind of a thing? Is their soul sick, if you will, before they actually
Hmm.
physically become ill? Because
Hmm.
again, ticks are so small,
They
and
are.
most people don't even notice being bitten. They inject you with a numbing agent that you don't even notice that they're attached to you, and they're so small. If it's on our head, like you or I, we've got a lot of head hair that covers that.
Hmm.
They're very challenging to see.
Right.
You only get a rash 35% of the time. So, what's the driving difference between people who have been bitten and have symptoms and people who have been bitten and do not have symptoms? Because
Yeah. Right.
there's quite a few people that test positive to the Lyme spirochete in their bodies, but have zero symptoms.
Hmm.
And what is that difference? What does it? Is it stress? Is it again the emotional state or well-being? Um, why is it like this for people?
That's a really, really good question. I mean, we may all look the same on the outside, but our makeup inside is so different in our, childhood, how we grew up, how we perceived certain things. I really think that makes a big difference. There's a book, Emotions and Illness. I don't know the author, but I thought that was an interesting book to read in how our bodies react to certain things. And that's why I believe affirmations are important. Meditation for me has been so important. Also, we've also looked at environmental factors,
Mhm.
mold,
Yeah,
heavy metals.
yeah,
My husband and I, we were exposed to mold.
right.
So that can also trigger certain things in people's bodies too. Heavy metals too. I mean, there's a great book by a dentist called Dr. William Norquist who talks about the Lyme spirochete And under a microscope, he would show all of these spirochete in one's mouth. So, I mean, it's there. This is nothing that we're, making up. This is real. And I think when we had that first conference, people couldn't believe that there were so many variations of Lyme disease, right? In all of these tick-borne infections. And it was like, wow, is this for real? Sadly, it is. It's a very, very complex illness.
Yes. And I mean, I remember as a kid, it was always like, oh, you'll have a bullseye rash, you'll get Bell's palsy, like specific things that your joints will hurt. Mine
Right.
didn't look anything like that. And mine was a lot more neurologically based, but I also had some co-infections. So I don't know if which one
Mm,
was really driving the bus, if it was the co-infection
hmm.
or the Lyme, but
Yeah.
or mold, because I know also
Or
thinking
mold.
back, like I definitely had mold exposure, and I'm glad that you're bringing that up only because for those who have listened to my podcast in the past, you know that 60 to 70% of the guests I interview have mold, and that really can change things. I just finished a
Mhm.
certification on mold and SIRS, chronic inflammatory response syndrome, and
Oh, great.
oh wow, like this really, I knew it was part of it, but I didn't quite understand it as clearly now as I do. And
Hmm.
it's definitely something to consider because 1 out of 4 people can't detox mold adequately. And so if you've got those toxins in your body, maybe that is enough to tip your scale to the unwell side. And then the Lyme is just left to be an opportunistic type of thing and flourish in your system.
Right.
You never really do know. And that's part of the problem too with this is like, you don't necessarily know when you got infected. You don't
Nope.
necessarily know how long it's been in your body. I
No.
noticed symptoms probably, I think, right after a major stressor, a major traumatic event in my life. And it was just a gradual build to the point where I was like, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is just not, I don't want to be alive anymore. And sometimes people have a very severe onset where it's like, oh, my friend's dad got bit by a tick.
Mm,
Early that weekend, he's sweating to death. He's super high fever, very noticeable symptom set. Into the hospital he goes. He got diagnosed with tick-borne illness. He got put on intravenous antibiotics, and he's been a lot better since. But
good. Good.
but for people like your mother, she suffered probably for decades
Yeah.
and didn't understand really what was happening to her body. And
Oh,
a lot of the times the doctors just kind of say, oh, you're fine. This is just where you should be at this age of life, or
right.
too much stress, or you're just depressed, or countless
So
other
many other things. Yeah.
phony, phony reasons why you're not feeling quite right. And that's one thing I wish too, that doctors would really get trained differently when it comes to this, because you also mentioned how many different variations there are. There's up to 300 types of Lyme worldwide. There's
Hmm.
100 in the US alone. And then
Right.
that's not even counting all the co-infections that we had.
Right.
So I'm glad for your husband that he was able to figure that out more quickly. But being on
More
antibiotics for
quickly.
3 years
Yes.
is no walk in the park. Like that's a pretty
Nope.
long time.
No, it
So
wasn't.
yeah, and is that all he used to get better, or
Yeah, for the most part, I mean, herbals, the lymphatic massages that we were doing, the meditation, the sauna.
yeah,
Um, we did keep the sauna that we had at the spa. I'm in that sauna every morning. I think everybody should sweat every day,
yes,
because every day we're picking up so much more toxins everywhere that sometimes our bodies can't even keep up.
yes, yes. We were
So
looking
I'm
back,
grateful that I still have it, that I'm able to use it.
yeah, and that's what so like there are portable saunas people can buy if they're listening and they
Yes.
can't afford a sauna or whatever. Like I'll go on Amazon or wherever it's going to be that you buy something from. They've got these pop-up portable saunas
Yes.
that you can get that you sit
Yep.
in. It's like a little box.
Right. Yep.
It sticks out over the top and you can heat yourself up every day.
Yep.
And again, it's definitely imperative that our detox pathways are open when you're trying to heal from something like this. So you want to be sweating, you want to be pooping every day, you want
Yes.
to be urinating, frequently enough, but not too frequently, because that usually is a sign that you're actually not absorbing water. But there's a lot of different tricks that we can do to help our body to detox as well. You can soak in ancient minerals, magnesium flakes, or
Yes. Yep.
baking soda, even hydrogen peroxide. These are all good things that you can help to pull out toxins from the system. And the more that we can get out, the better, but you can go too hard and too fast. So you really need to go gradually,
Mm-hmm.
but the right way. You can get help from a professional. Like I help people with their bodies to heal now. That's partially the direction that God took me in after my own experience, was to learn how to do that more specifically for people. But there's lots of holistic providers along the way. And if you're in a, wherever your area is, you can always just type in a holistic healer and find
Mm-hmm.
someone, naturopath, anything that's going to be a little bit more receptive to some of these other things that we've got to do to help the body to heal, because it's not just antibiotics, it's a lot of other things. And for me, it was tackling some of the inside of myself as well. And
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
worked with a lot of different people over a course of 7 years to figure out how to be just more comfortable in my own skin, how to have greater peace, not to stress so
Yeah.
much, not to worry so much. Um,
Right.
but I think part of the illness is that it is like your husband displayed, it causes panic attacks or
Fight or flight. Right. Something's wrong with me. I don't know what it is. He'd be in meetings and he'd work with one gentleman, for 8 years and look across the table and forget his name.
yeah,
So
really scary and socially
it is
awkward,
scary.
because you're like, okay, how is this happening to me? Like, I've known this person my whole life and I can't even think of their name. I don't know what their kids' names are. I don't even know what I'm doing here. Like,
Right.
how bad it can get for people. And it's hard
And,
to.
I think in some way, Anne, I didn't want to lose him because I lost my mother.
Mm,
So I was trying to do what I could
yeah,
to get him in a better place.
yeah,
And I think that's why we opened the spa, because once he started feeling better, we kind of knew what it took for people to get well.
yeah,
But I think going back to what we just talked about, people have to feel that they're worthy of that.
yeah, yeah. Because it's easy, I think, to get trapped in the mentality of like, I can't afford it.
Right,
It's amazing when you commit to that and you say, I deserve to feel well. I deserve
right.
to have a good quality of life. What the universe, how that shows up for you, and finding ways to pay for things or to afford things, or it just makes that you're putting out your message to the universe like, yes, please help me figure out how to do this. And
Yeah,
ways start to appear when you really start
right.
to commit to
Yeah.
yourself that way. Uh,
Hmm.
And then, so talk to me a little bit more about the spa. Is that
Well,
something?
the spa, unfortunately, we had to close it.
Okay.
Because COVID forced us to close, as you know, for I think 3 to 4 months. And then reopening, people were afraid to get out again. Everybody's habits changed. I saw that my habits changed during that time too. So I think that protocol for healing was too premature. Maybe down the road, that would come together again. But we had a sauna, we had a Rife machine, we had women who would do lymphatic, massage to help with drainage.
Yep.
We did detox foot baths. So we were doing things all focused on detoxification, specifically for people that we had come to know in the Lyme community that needed that.
Yeah. That's an amazing service to provide for people, especially if it's set up specifically for Lyme, and you lived it, you walked it, you breathed it, and that you can really put your heart and soul into something to be able to give that back to people. I'm sorry, and I hate the fact that COVID happened at all.
I know. Yeah, I know.
I'm
But
sorry that it changed the scope of our life so much. Who knew
right,
Lyme
it
like
did.
could really do that? But in theory, I wish Lyme would change how we behave and act to the same level, because I would say,
No,
not to downplay the severity of COVID, but like Lyme, in my opinion, I mean, it's just a completely different beast.
it
And
is.
we had
Right.
talked a little bit too. It's like, I'm wondering how many people's Lyme symptoms got triggered by COVID, if that's really the long COVID thing that people are talking about is actually undiagnosed Lyme that was activated
Yes.
by COVID. Or maybe that's why some people got a lot sicker than other people, is because they were already fighting something on an immune level that it just rendered them sitting ducks kind of with that.
Our support line during COVID was very busy because there were people not knowing, you know, is this Lyme or do I have COVID or is this long haul COVID? Um, so yeah, there was a lot of people that needed just somebody to talk to, I think too. There are many people that are like, Michelle, should I get this test? It's, it's expensive. And I try to explain that whole testing that is done in a traditional doctor's office is just not as accurate, not as sensitive, right?
Yep,
So, I mean, do you want to know like 46% of the test, if it comes back negative, there still could be a chance you have it.
that's right. That's right. Unfortunately, a pretty
Right,
large chance that you could still have it.
right.
And your support line, can you say what that is for people?
Yes, it's 1-888-511 Lyme
Okay.
5963. Yep. And it goes right to my cell phone.
So I was wondering, I was
So
like, so
they
you have like a big center where people are
no, they would be talking
oh,
directly to me and yeah, I mean, a lot of people just need to know where to go. In this area, we don't have like a referral network per se, but I like to give out the doctors that I've met personally at a lot of our conferences. And everybody's bedside manner is different,
yes.
but they're the specialists. I tell people, if you have a problem with your toe, are you going to go to a cardiologist? No, you're going to go to a podiatrist who specializes in feet. So the same thing applies when we have Lyme disease and other tick-borne infections.
That's can be a bit of a losing battle sometimes with people.
Yes.
They're like, oh, I went to the infectious disease doctor, and it's like
Ugh, right.
went sometimes because I know there was a lawsuit against the Infectious Disease Society of America
Yes.
because of the treatment, or rather
Mm,
mistreatment towards people with Lyme and
mistreatment.
tick-borne illness. And the
Right.
number of people that I've come into contact with that are like, oh, they told me to go home and that they needed their calendar back for people who were legitimately sick. And I was like, that's terrible. I mean,
It
again,
is.
doctors go to school to learn how to help people. How dare they, in a sense, take it upon themselves to tell people that they're not legitimately sick? Like, okay, but there's a specific subset of doctors that I would say are more well trained in this area that are more of the specialists. And I would encourage people to go to the ILADS trained doctors,
Yeah.
International Lyme and Associated Disease Society. They're
Yes.
going to be much more well versed at reading results, understanding
Hmm.
about co-infections, figuring out how this disease interacts with other things going on in the body, and some alternative means to help to heal yourself as well, because it is not just antibiotics, it's a whole slew of things that I did included. And it sounds like with your husband and figuring all of that out is different for every person. But without someone like you or myself or one of those trained doctors to guide you, it's very overwhelming. That's the other thing, is like there's so much misinformation out there. There's so much that's
There is.
understood. It's scary when you're not feeling well. And it's also hijacking your central nervous system. And that can
Hmm.
really make you act erratic and very different than what you normally would in normal circumstances and when you're in a healthy body. And so, I've seen too many people floundering and they're like trying here, there, and everywhere to heal. And I know also we want to feel well as fast as possible.
Yes.
And sometimes people jump ship too soon. It's like, no, you've got to stick it out. You've got to
Gotta
give this
stick it
person enough
through.
time to
Yep.
really work with you, because it's not an overnight fix. It's not an overnight progression into the darkness. It's not an overnight regression out of it. Like it takes some time, and you just really have to be patient, perseverant, determined, driven, and not every day is going to be a good day.
No. And you need a support system too, Anne. I know, my husband had me, but I'm thinking if he didn't have somebody who believed that he had Lyme and, these other tick-borne infections, support is also key.
Yes. Yes, because it's a lot harder alone. Like I
Yes.
mean, I was alone, but it's like part of me was relieved that I was alone because,
Mm,
and I don't know for how many people are living this right now, but it's like doctors kept telling me there's nothing wrong with me. And so I felt defective and I was like embarrassed about my own being because they just said that there was nothing wrong with me. And so I think it would have been a lot harder for me to be around people for them to see. Maybe it would have been better. Maybe it would have given me more belief in myself that legitimately there was something wrong. But I was just like relieved and I was so tired all the time that it was easier to be alone sometimes. But then when I started to heal, it was also kind of easier because I only had to make food for myself, or
right,
you know,
right.
I
You
knew
didn't,
my schedule. I
yeah,
knew what I needed to be doing for myself. I knew how to take care of myself. It took a lot to learn, but like, yeah, but I'm sure having a support system really makes it a lot better. And I know a lot of people through this experience will cut out some unhealthy relationships, and that really gives them propulsion forward as well in terms of being able
mhm.
to heal. And I've had many guests talk
Talk.
to me about toxic
Yep.
relationships.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Because
part of the detox process.
yep, that's right. And like
Mhm.
there's a reason that this happens to us.
Right.
Well, ultimately it is. We sometimes it takes a little bit of time maybe to get that clarity, but like I'm thinking about your mom and just again, you've touched on it, but it's like maybe her reasoning was so that she would be there to help to save your husband, to give you him as, you know, someone then that you could go into old age with and that you could have there by your side always. And that's a
Yeah.
very noble cause and a very noble reason. And,
Yeah. I
you know,
think she prepared me. I mean, because I was going to all the appointments and getting all this education on Lyme and how it could affect your body. So I believe that too. And I'll never forget the day my mother and I went back to the neurologist that had diagnosed her with ALS. She was so happy to go in there with the IGeneX test.
uh-huh.
He threw it across the desk and said, I don't look at any of these tests. They're not FDA approved.
Oh dear.
So we walked out of there just like, what? But once he diagnosed her with that, it was no second guessing.
No turning his mind
No.
around.
Mm-mm. No.
I don't see how people can be so rigid in a sense because we're not God. We don't know all the
Nope.
answers. There's lots that we have to learn, and science changes every day. Like there's new advancements that are made, there's different
Right.
understandings that we come to. And again, it's a living organism that comes into people's bodies. Like I just don't see how they can't be open to the thought that potentially that's what's happening. Like
Yeah.
so I'm sorry that your mother passed as a result of this
Yeah.
ultimately, because again, I
Yeah.
just think about the lifelong suffering that she probably endured. Um,
Hmm.
but I am glad for it in a sense, again, since your husband was able to get better and it really pushed you in a different direction in life, right? Like,
It did. So we would have meetings and support group meetings, and there was one woman that came in, little old woman, and she said, Michele, losing your mom, I'm sure it was hard, but look at this. It's a blessing. And she was right. We had people coming to these meetings and joining together. They weren't alone in their illness, and we were giving them a ray of hope. And boy, she was right.
that,
As hard as it was to lose my mother, yeah, she was
yeah,
giving back.
that's right. And she's always with you, right? Like she's
Yeah,
always
she
there
is.
and she's so proud of you and she sees you
Yeah,
and she knows exactly what you're doing. And
yeah.
I'm, I believe very much that people's energy is always with us and they're always in our
Mhm.
heart and in our minds, but the physical loss is very hard sometimes.
It
And
is. Yeah.
again, you've touched so many people, you've helped so many people, you've saved so many people's lives. Like
Thank
when
you.
someone says that to me, like, thank you, you saved my life. And it's like,
Yeah,
how, like I'm just a person, right? Like I'm
right. We're just
that.
planting the seed. We're giving them the information. Some are open to it, some are not.
That's
But,
right.
we have a mutual friend who for 3 years he was messaging me. He was wondering about getting tested, and 3 years it took. But once he did it, He's now on his healing path and he's doing wonderful. So there is hope out there. And yeah, I'm just happy to be a part of it.
An important role that you've stepped into and just couldn't think
Yeah.
of a better person to do it. You're so strong and grounded and clear about it. And we need more people like you who are truly activists and really care about the community. Like this is something that you didn't personally have, but you've taken it upon yourself to make this a personal mission to try to help other people not go through the loss that you've endured or to not have to figure out how to do the Rubik's Cube when you're blind.
Well, I think a
With
lot
your
of people
husband,
even
right?
don't know how to navigate it. Where do they go?
That's right. That's
Right?
right. That's right. And so for where you're at now, people could call your hotline.
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
that was 1-888-511 Lyme. That
Hmm.
people could reach out to you and talk to you that
Yeah.
way. You have the Central Mass Lyme Foundation.
Yeah.
And
They
so,
can email me as well. Some Ian don't like to talk about it, so
okay,
they can email me too.
okay,
It's Central Mass Lyme Foundation at gmail.com.
okay. And
But
then your foundation, is that specifically with the hotline? Is that like an in-person support group? Is that an organization that donates money for people or
so
like,
we look for donations. We used to have monthly meetings pre-COVID,
yeah,
but we do have a closed discussion group on Facebook, and I can add you to it. It's over 1,000 members.
great.
Um, and what a great community that is, because they've been helped. They've been there. They know that there are more people out there that are going to need help.
Yes.
And yeah, it's just wonderful witnessing, somebody posting and then all these other people trying to help them out. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. That is one thing that I'll see sometimes is like one post and it's like three people liked it, but 300 people commented on it,
Right.
And it's like, yeah,
Yes.
people aren't even bothered. They're just like, how can I help this person?
How
Let me
can I
put some
help
thoughts
you?
out there for
Yeah.
them and ways to get themselves better. And again,
Right.
everybody's outcome, like their own journey in terms of that looks different. I find no two people heal the same way. No two people really exhibit the same exact symptom set either.
No.
So it would make sense. And we're all individuals that we would all need our
Yes.
own way to heal. And that's sometimes, again, the rub with this is that it's not like you break your leg, you fall, you get a cast, and 6 weeks later your bone is mended, and we have a straightforward fixing path that way. It's a lot of
No,
trial and error. It's a lot of different things that we can be introduced to that traditionally, I think in Western medicine, we miss a lot of it, right?
we
Like
do.
the Rife
Yeah.
machine or
Right.
Reiki or the
Yeah.
rainbow
Reiki. Yeah.
massage technique or lymphatic,
Mhm.
they'll recommend lymphatic drainage massage. I'll give them that. But there's just a lot of stuff that is not traditional Western medicine that is there, that's available that people don't even know about. And
Right. Muscle testing, Tong Ren. I've been doing all these different things to understand how our bodies can heal in different ways.
yeah, now you've said something like I was going to say, in 15 years of doing this or however long it's been, I've learned so much, but I know that I know this much in comparison to how much there really is. What's tongue ren? I've never heard of this before.
Tong Ren is, it's almost like virtual acupuncture.
Okay.
So I took a class and I have a little doll. I have it on my bureau right now. My husband woke up and he's got a little hip pain. So I've got this doll on the bureau and I've got a red laser light pointed on that meridian that's on his hip.
Okay.
So it's like distance healing, I call
Yeah. All right. Great.
it.
That's great.
And I mean, it works.
It's amazing how everything is energy. And
Everything is
sometimes
energy.
it's hard to wrap your brain around that. Like I remember when someone was
Don't question it, just believe it.
straight, like I was learning about money and they're like, money's just an energy. And I was like, this doesn't even make sense to me. It's a commodity. I don't see what, and money is an energy. And
Energy.
all of these
Yes.
things that we see as tangible are just energy. And it's really dependent on our own being to project the right frequency or the right vibration.
That's
Forget,
another thing, frequencies. I listen to frequency music. We have to keep our energies very high.
Yes. Yes. And you make
And
me think,
essential oils can do a lot with frequencies too.
yes. Yes. Rose has the highest
Hmm.
frequency of any plant.
Yep.
And interestingly, the rose flower
Yeah.
repels ticks.
Ah,
Hmm?
that's why I like roses.
Like, I love learning these little tidbits that
Yeah.
we all pick up
Yeah.
along the way, but
Yeah.
and without people who have lived and breathed this, like you, it can be very challenging to understand all of these different options. Again, you just taught me something about a healing modality that I've never even heard of. And it's like, whew. So yeah, there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to
There
accomplish.
is.
And then,
Yeah.
everybody can just take one step at a time. And, you can listen to me and Michelle and it's like, whoa, but just take comfort in knowing that it's just God gives us one day at a time for a reason.
Right. And that there are people out there that can help you.
For sure. For sure.
And your health is your wealth.
Yes, I have a thing here.
My
It's
grandmother always told me that.
yeah, health is the greatest gift, contentment the greatest wealth, faithfulness the
Yes.
best relationship.
Yeah.
And I look at
Love
that
that.
all the time. It's like health is the greatest gift. It is the ultimate thing. Without
Yep.
our health, we really have nothing. We can have all the material things in the world, and if we don't feel well,
Yep.
what does
Amen.
it matter? What does it matter? I couldn't even get off a couch for a long time because I was so tired constantly. Like it wouldn't matter how much money I had. I could have been doing dances all day long. It just
Mm,
didn't matter.
sorry.
Yeah, again, part of my journey, part of why I
Yep.
go through that to get here, just like what you've gone through is part of your journey as to what your soul needed to evolve to get to here, to be able to
Yeah.
help others, to be a light shining forth for people who are in the darkness that need somebody to help them and hold their hand and show them that it's going to be okay and that they can get through this. We can accomplish so much. Our bodies are so powerful. Our body, mind, and soul is so powerful if we know the right fuel to put into it, right? If we know
And trust your instincts. If it doesn't feel right, then yeah,
that's
it's
right.
not right. Yeah.
That's right. Because again, when we talk about how many healing modalities there really are, um, people would talk to me about this or that, and certain things would resonate with me. And I'd keep thinking about that. And I'd be like, that's the direction I need to go.
Right.
Stuff I wouldn't even remember. It would just be like, "Boop." But the stuff that we need to find and we need to go, we'll go. We just have to start looking.
My pendulum, I would ask my pendulum. I would do muscle testing. I mean, these are all things, Anne, that I never even looked at before,
Yeah.
before all of this.
Yes.
And I think you just have to be open to it.
Yes. Tremendously. And then so that makes me think as my last question for you here is what has been the best thing that's happened to you as a result of your contact with Lyme and tick-borne illness?
Oh, wow. It's all the connections, Anne, that I have made. A lot of my close friends are from this Lyme community. They came to me through, our organization, and they've stayed with me. But you know, friends.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just all the connections. And what I love is somebody who was struggling send me just a text or an email or a Facebook message saying, Michele, I am doing so much better. There was one girl, she came in a wheelchair to one of our conferences. She's now married and pregnant with a baby boy. It's just those stories, those give me hope that, yeah, they can get better.
Absolutely.
And seeing my husband get better.
And that what you do is worth it, right? Like even if it's just that one girl that's now having a baby that you've saved her
Right.
life and you made a vehicle for her son to come to this earth, like
Yes.
it's worth it, right? And I know that there's hundreds and thousands of other people that you've touched in a very similar way that you've helped to get
Yeah.
better. And like that's huge. Like you're a true hero. You're
Well, just like you with the podcast.
just really, it's just like beautiful to see people in such a capacity of giving and love and caring. And I'm very honored to have come into contact with you this way and to really get time to sit with you and hear your story because it's people like you who change the face of this planet, right? And I think about Gandhi and he says, be the change that you want to see. And that's exactly what you're embodying, very much so. And you can tell how touched I am by you. And I'm just really grateful that people like you are on this earth because you are true earth angels, like,
Thank you.
yep.
All in memory of my mom. I don't want anybody else to lose their mother.
Yeah. And what was your mom's name?
Jean.
Thank you.
Jean. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. But I do really appreciate you so much. I wish I could give you a hug. That's the
I
hard
know.
part. This is like, we're not close to each other that way. But
I
yes, we can do
know.
an energetic
I
exchange
know.
and hug. And like,
I
I
can
feel
feel
you.
it.
That's right. I feel you. And it's just such a beautiful thing. And I'm just really grateful again to know you. And thank you for sharing because it does matter. It is really important that we keep spreading this story and telling people that you can get better, you can heal. It's not all for naught. It is important. And we should not be ashamed. We should not be afraid to talk about these things because they're happening all too commonly. And I think more doctors, again, need better training, but we're just on a mission from God to help others find their way back into health. So,
Right. Yeah.
what
Yeah.
a blessing. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Anne, for what you do too.
Yes, yes. And that's what I'm like, okay, put the mirror over here, right? Like I'm like,
Because
thank
that's helping you
you
heal.
very much.
My grief counselor told me, I could make lemons out of lemonade by doing this, but I'm also healing the
Yes,
grief.
yes. And that's a lot to heal sometimes, but it is very much more, I'd rather it this way than just
Yes.
like sitting at home by myself thinking. Like it's so much better to talk to people or process
Right.
it in this capacity.
Right.
Yeah.
So they don't go down the same path you went.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Because that was almost a very dead end path.
Right.
Yeah, emphasis on dead. So glad, so glad. But
I'm glad you're on the other side of that.
me too, me too. And I get to meet people like you and spend time with you.
Yeah.
So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Anne.
Mhm.